Seeing myself on the screen. If you guys are having a good day with all our sessions so far, I think it would be great to hear if you have some questions that are coming on. We are in the middle of a small, we are doing an upload for our session here. The video had disappeared and we were trying to get it back in place for you. And so if you just give us a few minutes, we'll be back in place and we'll have it. If not, we will make sure that it is available for you as a replay. Ladies, how many children do you have? I have 4. They have all graduated. I've used Sonlight through all the ages. This was a talk supposed to be about breaking stereotypes. And I think that this was something that we all needed to have on our list to talk about. Christy, Jen, Amy, and Sunny, we're going to come and talk to you just to talk about the differences of families. My family of 4 kids, we didn't school the same way as you guys probably school yours. My kids were spaced, their ages are spaced evenly, but the grades between them were not even. So we were 2, 3, and 4 years apart in our grades. So we were constantly trying to figure out, do we do 2 cores? Do we do 3? I did co-ops all the time while I was raising my kids in school, at homeschooling them, but that was me. So welcome to my office. I have a little cubby hole office. I try to let you guys know that try to make you think I have a bigger office than what I do, but I don't. My kids have all graduated now. The last one graduated just this past year. And so we are in the throes of it, rejoicing of having a brand new graduate go on. Lisa here is monitoring chats, and she's going to help us figure out the best way to answer all your questions. Forget the video. Let's just have a live discussion. Yes, Katie, let's have a live discussion and let's go for it. You ask me questions, I'll tell you all my not so secret secrets. I will tell you that I have a reluctant reader. I had one that came out reading. I swear she went from Sounding Out Cat to Encyclopedia Brown. Hillary's coming in from South Africa. I love seeing all the different countries that you represent. Lisa, if you want to join me, that would be great. You come and help me. You talk about the social aspect of homeschooling and the argument people make of homeschooling that are not so. You talk about the social aspect of homeschooling and the argument people make of homeschooling that are not socialized. Oh, I heard a great argument the other day at a convention. A gentleman was telling me his parents used to say, I didn't send you to school to socialize. And his same parents are the same ones saying to him now, what about homeschooling your kids? Aren't you worried about socialization with them? Yeah. So the same parents that used to fuss at us for talking we were doing too much socialization are now the ones that are asking why we aren't socializing our kids and putting them in public school. Lisa's joining us from sunny Florida. She was not expecting to be on.
This is how real homeschool moms look, not made up homeschool moms when they think they're
not made up, no makeup.
But we are
Hair's
rolling with it today. I see Anastasia said, how do you respond to unsolicited comments from family? It's really hard not to become upset. I will share that when I told my mom that I was going to homeschool my first daughter, she literally yelled at me. It was not a pretty scene, and I tried very hard to be respectful, but there was nothing nice that I could say. So I did leave her home. But what it came down to was she was afraid that my daughter was going to miss out on things, which she did not. She asked me about my experience in school and why I wanted to take that away from my daughter. But I'm 52 and my daughter is 22. That's a long time in between. And school was not the same now as it was when I went to school. So, once we started and my children thrived, she did better. But the best way to respond is just that, I'm not judging your I think that was a lot of my mom's thing was, well, school is good enough for me. Why wasn't it good enough for my children? I'm not judging your choices. This is just a choice that my family has made. And my husband and I sought the Lord, and this is what the Lord had for our family. And we were so thankful. I wouldn't trade my years of homeschooling for anything. And thanks to the person who said, what's makeup? I only wear it when I have to record and go out of the house. And today I didn't have to do either of those, but here we are.
Guess what?
Here we are. So we have another question. Can you talk about the social aspect of homeschooling, the argument people that they make? Do you need to be a stay-at-home parent in order to homeschool? Can you work full-time?
Yes, you can work full-time and homeschool.
Work as much or as little as you want. The whole time I homeschooled, I had a full-time job of caring for a terminally ill parent. So you can certainly do it. I think yesterday in a session that I was in with Sunny, she works full-time, and she just talked about not schooling during school hours.
Wow.
Yes. So yes, you can make it work for your family. You just have to make it a priority and make sure that everybody is on the same page. Katie also asked, do homeschool teens miss out on the high school experience? Jonna is awesome at that because she's the queen of social things.
No, I mean, your high schooler kids will get a lot. I saw there's a couple comments about older kids and everybody's younger that are homeschooling. You give your kids the opportunity to be the teacher or be the older one around those families, which then equip them later in life. So look at it that way. Two, we've been involved in groups. We've done proms. We've done robotic clubs. We've done all the high school things. We have a yearbook at our co-op. I've even had friends that do a yearbook at their home school. I mean, just giving them the skills of formatting pictures and putting together a book using what is it's not Shopify, it's Shutterfly. Shutterfly, you could use that. I mean, there's so many things. My youngest just went to prom this April, March, I don't know, but he had a blast, and his older siblings had taught him how to swing dance, and so he was showing off with all his friends how to swing dance and spin all the girls and dip them and whatnot, all very respectful. But he was, he's my introvert, but when it came to the dance floor, he was the extrovert.
Yeah, both of my girls went to prom. They had a yearbook. They had friends. They went to parties. They had homecoming. They did all of those things. So they did not miss out on anything, and they were happy to do it. It was exciting to shop for prom dresses and homecoming dresses and all of those things, but it was not a big deal that it wasn't 500 kids at prom, that it was 120 kids at prom or 50 kids at prom, whatever it turned out. That was not a problem. They enjoyed themselves probably a little bit more than some would have if they had gone to a bigger prom.
One of the things about high school, some talk about sports. We have local homeschool sports leagues, and they compete against private schools in the area. They get college, scouted just as much as the public schools. I mean, usually there are small private colleges that are looking at them. One of the guys that graduated with my son out of the co-op, he's playing the quarterback for a university next year. So there are opportunities out there, which are great, that allow us to let our kids do the things. Catherine asked about co-ops and would love to hear benefits and drawbacks of different styles. If you're using Sonlight, what you need to look for is one that basically has the electives for you. Something that's just going to add to your co-op, to your school, not take away from Sonlight. The only thing I would look at adding academic-wise that you have to have on your credit, maybe your math, or doing your science where you do the lab experiments in a group. That way you get to still have a rein on the history and the Bible and the literature and their language arts, but the things that you don't want to do, like dissect a pig or, get frogs, you can let the co-op handle that. If you don't like higher level maths, there are moms out there that can. Lisa and I both are the higher level math kind of friends. We've done lots of classes, so that doesn't come, that's not a problem for us.
What
I know
was a
lots of
problem
folks.
for me was foreign language. I joke that I speak English and Southern. Neither one of those are considered foreign language in college. So we did use a co-op for that. Art, because I'm a math teacher, just like Jonna just said, I can draw triangles, but not horses. So we used co-op for art, and I did biology at home. I dissected the fish and the frog and the things, but when it came to anatomy and there was going to be hearts and eyeballs and brains, I drew the line. So both of my girls did take anatomy outside the home at co-op. Someone asked about finding a co-op.
So you could probably look.
Oh, go ahead, because you're the co-op person. I just participated. I see my hair is all crazy. I'm feeling really bad. But you're the co-op queen. I just attended a co-op. You do all
So I've been a director of a co-op for probably more years than I was in a co-op. I mean, just participating. But we always would register our group through HSLDA and through the state organization so that we could be found. Look on your Facebook, because a lot of time co-ops now have Facebook groups so that you could search there. And I bet you have a Facebook group of just homeschoolers in your area that you could say, hey, I'm looking for a co-op for my high schooler. I'm looking for a co-op for my kindergartner who has a field trip co-op. Those are awesome co-ops to get started in. Your kids are socialized. You get to go do a field trip, and you're not worried about what some other mom might be teaching your kids. So I have
Yeah, that was true for us too. We started in a pretty small co-op when my oldest daughter was just starting kindergarten. I don't know how I would have done it without the co-op, but by the time she was getting ready go into ninth grade, we quit the co-op. It had become so large. I no longer knew everyone that was in there, and no one knew everyone that was in there. So I was less confident in just putting them into a classroom with someone that I did not know. So yeah, we cut it out then. And we were a little sad, but we had already made relationships. So we just kept those relationships going. I have one introvert child and one extrovert child. So I did really have to be really purposeful at getting her out and doing things to do her extroverted self. I am also an introvert. I love to stay home, but she does not. So we worked really hard to get those outlets for her because it was important to her, and that was part of her need. So yeah. That's a good idea. Someone talked about if you live in rural areas, how could you do that? Yeah. Again, Jonah, I live in a pretty large city, so there's lots of co-ops in my area. But they talked about 4-H or FFA, church. Those are all great places to find community. And I guess if it really comes down to it and you can't find what you're looking for or what you need. In my church, we are studying the book of Nehemiah, and one of the most recent sermons was about being the answer to your own prayer, that, you keep asking and asking and asking, and maybe it's time. Maybe you're the co-op maker and you're answering not only your prayer, but the prayer of those around you. So don't leave that out completely as a thought. And it doesn't have to be the first day that you start all the things. It could just be coming to the park to play, or meeting to do a craft or a Bible lesson or something like that. That's how our co-op started. It started with really small. I think we maybe had about 15 families. And when I left, I don't even know how many kids were in it. So yeah.
So when we moved down here 10 years ago, we were the only homeschool family at our church. And as far as I knew, nobody homeschooled in the area. After about a year, I found a co-op that had 9 or 10 families in it, and we joined, and it was designed for high schoolers to do science labs and some history reports together. And that co-op now, because we made it available, we actually are about at 75 or so families at our co-op. Our church has grown from one family in the church. I think we have about 30 families. Homeschooling is growing, and even in the rural areas, it's growing leaps and bounds. You said something about 4-H. 4-H loves homeschool groups, so you could always go to your 4-H office about getting one started, and they probably could help you find other families to help establish one. Starting a co-op is as easy as we're going to get a couple of families together and do some local field trips. Go to the farmer, go to a farmer's market, just something easy. Do we have any?
Those are great ideas, Jonna. And, in the world that we're in, smaller maybe is better. More people are comfortable. So I think smaller doesn't mean not as good. Esther, you're asking about replays. You will receive an email. Jonna will know the exact date after the event is over.
Right. Once the sessions are done today, we will then publish all the replays for you. So today is all live still, or recorded live chats. And then we will send out a recording of all the sessions. This one will probably be, we might add this one in as one you can watch and add the other one as well. So you can watch both. We will work on that one. That's my other gig, and I will make it happen for you. You will not miss the recorded version. Those ladies had awesome wisdom for you.
Kathleen said that her homeschool 4-H group had a leader that stepped away. Maybe again, that's, even if it's in the interim, something that you could step up or keep the same group of people and not be a 4-H official group, but still have your own group and do agricultural things or husbandry things. I know 4-H groups do all sorts of things, speech and whatnot. And just, a co-op, I think we've changed the meaning of co-op. Co-op means that everyone participates. It's not 5 people running the show for 100 families. It's 100 moms running the show for 100 families. Someone has to be in charge, but by nature, co-op means you're all going to work together. So, if you feel like this is something that you can do, you might be in charge. You might be the support person for someone's in charge. Everyone who's in charge needs a cheerleader. So don't be afraid to work through that.
I was going to say, Katie asked if we have a separate classroom or do we have a large house? No and no. When my kids were all little, we lived in Kentucky, and our house was maybe about 1,200 square feet. And all 4 of us, or 4 kids and me, would do school at the dining room table. When we moved down here, the house is a little bit bigger, but we still pretty much were at the dining room table. That's where, even when I tried to create a homeschool room, we ended up at the dining room table. So I just embraced it, that's where our life is. And after all, if you're homeschooling, everything about what you do is about homeschooling. I mean, you live and breathe homeschooling, and at your house, your dining room table, kitchen area is the heart of the house. So why not make it part of the homeschooling area? So,
yeah, we had a homeschool room where our books had a place to go, but our people weren't there. And I tried multiple ways to get our people in there, and we ended up at the kitchen table. So we finally embraced that and made the homeschool room where the homeschool books lived. And then we used the 3-tier IKEA cart to put our weekly things on, and it could go wherever we went. It could go to the dining room table. It could go outside to the pool table, not a pool table like billiards, but the table by the pool. If we wanted to do work that way, we used our Sonlight tote to load up the books if we wanted to go to the park or to the beach. I think for us, when we were not trying to replicate school at home, it just didn't make sense to then say, but now you have to sit at your desk in this special room, because we wanted to have that just an atmosphere of education and learning. So you don't need a homeschool room. You do need a place to keep your things. Kathleen says, my kids don't like the public school kids we've been exposed to in 4-H Scouts and church. What could I be doing as a parent that discourages them from making friends? Well, I don't think you're doing anything wrong at making them not make friends. I think we do need to tell our children that we can be friends with people even if we don't agree with them on everything, and not judge. We are called to be in the world, but not of the world. And I think as long as our differences are, I say minor, and I don't mean minor in I don't know, but not on foundational things. I think you can be friends with people, and there's degrees of friendship. You don't have to have them your best friend, but you can certainly be kind and go to the park or whatnot. But modeling, I think that's one of the things that we can do. If we are quick to judge, I think that makes our children quick to judge. They hear, they're sponges. So if you're modeling very judgmental behavior, then they're going to pick up on that. But if you're modeling an open behavior and accepting behavior, and I'm not talking about accepting all the things, but you can accept whether they go to public school or are homeschooled or whatnot. So yeah. Okay. Now we've lost Jonna. And she's back. Anastasia said it's your first year homeschooling, so you have a lot of concerns that you might have made the wrong decision.
All right, ladies. I don't know if I'm on or if I'm not.
You're here. You're here. Okay. You're here. You left for a moment, but now you're back.
I was just going to add to the comment about friends. If your kids are not making friends with them, or they are finding opposition, and you're thinking you might be the reason, you've taught them differently, you might think about it as you have taught them to have some discernment about, a spiritual discernment, and they're already recognizing it. But now it's your time to help them realize you can walk alongside them. You don't have to embrace their way of life, but you can show them an example, and you can be there. You can be friendly with them at church and at 4-H, but you don't have to say, you're my new best friend.
Anastasia says she's afraid she's made the wrong decision to homeschool. Only you and your husband and the Lord can make that. But if you and your husband have a peace about homeschooling, then you're not making the wrong decision. I always say that most parents who homeschool are homeschooling out of love, and love covers a multitude of sins. So, as long as you can lay your head on the pillow at night and you have peace and you feel like you have answered the only one that matters, the Lord, you're doing okay. Katie says a common stereotype, homeschoolers don't have to earn their grades. Well, okay. But when your kids apply to college and they do the SAT, that'll tell whether they earn their grade or not.
That's right.
For sure.
The proof is in the pudding.
Yep. Yeah. And then Mary asked, how many hours of day do you spend homeschooling, and how does it increase as grade levels increase?
She's starting with kindergarten, so you're about an hour to 2 hours, depending on how squirrely everybody is, including mom. When they get high school, it's on their own. If they buckle down, they're done usually in 5 or 6 hours. If they piddle or they struggle, it might be a marathon day.
I tell people when they ask me when I'm working at the convention, we always plan to be done by lunch through early middle school. And then after that, there maybe was math or reading after lunch, but still shorter than a regular school day, and then no homework.
Tatiana says she's looking for a co-op for 2 to 3 days to let her 12-year-old get to know other kids. I always found just one day a week was fine, or even one day every other week. So if you have some hesitations, my kids made great friends with a co-op every other week. And we just would do other things on the other week. So
yep, we had co-op 3 Fridays a week and 1 off Friday. And as much as we loved to go to co-op, the Friday that we were off was always our favorite day because it was a less stressful day. So I do know there are schools, there are several schools in my city that are 2 days a week. Our law says 2 days a week you're a tutor and 3 days a week you're a school. So 2 days a week they go to a co-op situation, and then 3 days they're at home. So there's all kinds of things all around. But maybe to that point, if you can't find a place that meets twice a week or 3 days a week, you could set a standing appointment with another family or group of families for the boys to get together and play football or whatever that may be, discuss a book. You could just do a smaller thing.
Kathleen says she never questioned her choice to homeschool. I question my husband's choice for me to homeschool often. But I did it. And I loved every minute of it. Now that I'm on the back end, I wouldn't trade it for anything. My kids are awesome. Even like my oldest son showed up today just to sit down and talk finances with me. He has to buy a new car. And he's like, Mom, just help me walk through it all. And I sat there and I listened to him. And I said, sounds good. That's great. And off he went. But, our relationship's strong. And I think it's that way because we homeschooled and we built that relationship, learning multiplication and dissecting frogs and outside playing together. So
Vanessa talks about a reluctant reader. For a reluctant anyone, I am very much a proponent of a timer. Just if you have a reluctant reader, but they can do it. I'm not talking about there's issues because that's a completely different situation, but just set a timer. And if it's only 5 minutes, 5 minutes today, 5 minutes tomorrow, next week, 7 minutes, whatever that may be, but just keep at it. Rachel has a great piece of advice is for you to continue to read out loud to them and keep trying different kinds of books. Maybe they're not a fiction reader. Maybe they're a nonfiction reader. Maybe they're not a nonfiction reader. They're a fiction reader. Maybe they don't like horse stories, but they like mysteries. So just keep at it.
I had a reluctant reader. He refused to learn to read for a long time. And when he finally started reading, it was a chore to get him to read until he, like Lisa said, until he finally found a book he liked. And then he couldn't get enough. And all of a sudden the world opened up and he realized, oh, there are more books just like this book and I could read. And, he doesn't have a problem with reading. He now will come and say, that one was really boring. I didn't like it. And some of them I catch him. I'm like, it's 2:00 in the morning. You need to go to bed. You have to go to work tomorrow. Somebody asked about co-ops not having Sonlight in it. Having Sonlight as an option at a co-op would be awesome. You could look at the Sonlight Connections page on the website to see if there's a group in your area. Our co-op I won't say never. We did not have Sonlight as a curriculum at the co-op most of the time. When I taught a history class at one of our co-ops, I often would bring in Sonlight-esque elements. And so I would require them to buy portions of Sonlight so I could use it.
So I'm not even going to attempt your name because that would probably do a disservice. But she said, I volunteered my husband for all required dissections. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
And Tolu said, so encouraging to hear all these amazing testimonies coming at a time God recently used Proverbs 21:5 to speak to me. diligence and patience will finally produce lasting and peaceful results. Isn't it awesome that we can go to God's word and know that every single promise he has is true, and that's in his word? So yes, 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 and amen. I always say homeschooling continues to be far more about anything I taught my children, but more about what God had to teach me about. I need to be reliant on him and constantly turning to him. And you can't do it under your own power. You have to have his help. So thanks for sharing that verse. I'm going to pull it out as soon as we're done here. And just remind myself of that. That's what we have to do. We have to remind ourselves of why we're doing this and why we started. Okay, let's see. Ingerlise, that is a beautiful name. But you've probably used to telling people how to say that. So thanks for giving us grace here as we.
It's a lot like my name.
I just have a regular name, so I'm easy.
Let's see. Great idea for using audiobooks. Dear Mom, sorry if this is off topic. Housekeeping homemade. Who housekeeps?
People that aren't homeschooling.
I used to worry about it a lot when my kids were little. My house was always needing something else done. The kids used to laugh and call the laundry mountain. You know, by the end of the week and I hadn't got it all done, they would climb on the mountain to play. My house does not look like that anymore. It will change in life. Do not embrace the messiness. Embrace what you did with your kids, because you're investing in their future and what's going to come up for them. And you're also teaching them that it's not about the appearance of your house that's important. It's about the family. And if you're willing to open the doors, even when the dishes are in the sink and there's maybe, I have dog tumbleweeds because my dogs are shedding, it's summer and I can sweep every day. But my kids know they could invite anybody over at any time. And I'll say, sorry for the mess, but this is life. And what can I get you to drink? So
I always said, if you're stopping by to see us, come by anytime. If you'd like to see the house, please make an appointment, and we're booking 6 to 8 months out. So I just, it's not that season. It's the season, like John has said, of being with your kids, making memories, building those relationships. And then as they get older, old enough to manage things, it's a team. Everyone lives here. Everyone needs to participate. And I think where we get bogged down is looking at other people's homes and not living their life. It's easy to keep a clean home when no one's there. But in a homeschooler's house, no one is ever not there. Someone is there. And so you can't do it all. I didn't ever want the health department to come in and code violate me. But dog hair, not folded laundry, it's okay. And as they get bigger and you get on a schedule, you can keep going. And no, Jessica, your house is not the only messy house because you live there. And I have a sign by my front door that says, some call it chaos, we just call it family. And that was kind of how we lived. And again, come by anytime, fix you a cup of coffee. But if you're looking for a magazine-ready house, keep going.
Next. Kimberly was talking about her daughter being a reluctant reader, not developing a love of reading yet. I'm going to give you permission. You could cut some of the readers. Let her go slow. It's okay. She's doing great. Don't feel like she has to do all those readers in E. Don't stress her out.
Yeah, and I saw that child was only 10 in E. Yeah. So I would definitely say slowing it down would be awesome because it just ramps up from here. And you might need to slow it down a little. Mary said in relation to a house, she does a 5-minute tidy and that helps. We did have several set times that everyone needed to pick up.
I tried that, but the baby usually came behind us.
Of course. Of course. And Shannon says, what if your husband isn't on board? Well, I think everyone needs to be on board for sure. But everyone also needs to help. And I mean, I think that's just a communication issue and those kinds of things. And if you're trying, she said he works 50 to 60 hours a week. Well, so do you. And so, again, I had something a little crosser. I said to my husband, there's lots of duties and I can't do them all. So pick some of them. And housekeeping was just not one that we picked. But if I'm going to keep the house as clean as you would like, then maybe something else has to go by the way. Maybe it's not home cooked meals or, whatever those things are.
I said my husband and I had that conversation, and he worked 50, 60 hours, actually probably 70, 80 hours too at times. And he'd be like, well, the house is never clean. I would like to come home for a cooked meal. I would wish that the toys were not all over the living room. And I finally said, okay, so we listed out all the things I did. And I said, I'm teacher. That's 40 hours a week, we'll say. I'm your maid. I'm this, and this. I said, at what point do you want me to sleep? What point do you want me? And he's like, oh, okay. I said, or I could go back to work and I need to have this much money to go to work. And so that was just, men like to have it logistically put out for them. They want the world brought to them and they deserve the world brought to them. But sometimes they just need to remember we're juggling too. And we want to be at home with our babies and raise them in the way that our husbands want us to raise them. But we don't have enough hats, or we don't have enough heads for our hats. Maybe it's a better way to put it.
That is the thing. I have all these jobs. Which one can I let go? And for us, we determined that the tidy house, again, not dirty enough that the health department was coming in. Kimberly, who said her reluctant reader, she started with first grade and did B plus C for second grade too fast. Yes, I started not that early, and I still took 3 years to get through D and E because it is so rich. So just slow it down. Purpose. That's one thing when people come in the booth and they're like, well, what do you do when we talk about that? If you just purpose to take longer, then you're not disappointing yourself by being behind. You're right where you said you were going to be. So purpose to go slowly. Purpose to add in movies or field trips or craft experiences, whatever that is that works for you. And then you're not disappointing anyone because no, I'm not behind. I'm right where I thought I would be. For the lap books or hands-on history projects, I use them. I keep the hands-on crafts in their room until they decide to part with them. That's a good idea, Katie. We don't live in a state that requires portfolios, but I say every time I look at those lap books, which they didn't have when my kids were doing it, how impressive that would be to an evaluator to pull this out, that you have accomplished all of this. So that's a great idea.
Anastasia, you're right that it is a stereotype that all homeschool moms are stay-at-home moms. I have always had a job, and most of the time I had a job that kept me out of the house as well as in the house. And it would be part-time. This last year I did work full-time, but I had a senior. We were okay. But I've worked from home, and I have worked, jobs that required me to be in an office somewhere else. I had family that helped step in to watch when the kids were little. I've hired a homeschool senior, and she came and tutored and babysat the kids all day and did school with them as well while I went to work. And she got school done for herself. She got school done for the kids. It was great. Those are just ways to go around, but I've always had a job somewhere doing something. So
me too. I have always had a little side gig going. just because that's my personality. And my kids did social things, which required money. So
Yep.
I needed, well, I didn't need to. I chose to do that, to contribute to those fees and things. So again, it's a matter of what's important to you, what you're good at. Someone was asking about jobs. So what I did was tutor. I was already doing the thing. So a friend asked me, can you help with math? And I said, oh, of course, I love math. And it just turned into really almost a full-time job, because there are so many people that need help in whatever that is. I kept a friend's baby for a little while. I mean, there are a lot of things that you can do. Kaylee, yes, to that as well. There were several summers that my oldest son was in charge of science because we did not do it during the school year. And he went to public school, so he came home and was a science guy to his two sisters, and it worked out just fine. They got into college and they're productive adults. It didn't scar them at all.
Hey, Denise, on the job thing too, here's an out of the box thinking, or not necessarily out of the box. You're at stay-at-home mom homeschooling. We're in an environment where a lot of people who are working out of the home jobs are wishing their kids could be homeschooled. Why not hire yourself out to homeschool those kids and let one or two come and be in your house and get paid to do what you're already doing? That would depend on what state you're in and what's going on, what the legal aspects of that are. So just putting that out there.
But I do think there are a lot of opportunities, like John has said. People are looking or trading off.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are a lot of things that you can do to help your family. And as prices continue to go up and up, I think that becomes more and more of a concern. And there are opportunities for sure.
Another thing is just pray for the job to open up. My husband, I think when our oldest was in kindergarten, he said, I think you should go back to work part-time. And I think you should be in your field. And I laughed at him. I'm like, nobody's going to hire me this many years out to program. I was a computer programmer, to program in only 20 hours a week and in the program language that I knew. And the next night I was at church, and on the bulletin board, there was an ad for a 20-hour a week part-time programmer in that language. And I was like, that's not fair, God. I didn't want to go back, but I did. Right. I loved it.
That is a great point. Kathleen, you asked how, or maybe it wasn't, sorry. Y'all are typing fast and I'm on two screens, which I'm sure you can tell by the way my eyes are going. Elizabeth said, how could you find ways to hire yourself out as a homeschool teacher? A church bulletin board, in your co-op, on Facebook. I never advertised. So I think if you just get one person to
word of mouth.
Yes.
Word of mouth.
Yes. Baking, that's a good job. My daughter does that. She's not homeschooling mom yet, but she does bake for people. That is a way that she generates money. She does not have I call it a real job. She has a job. She is a wife and soon to be a mom. She has a job, but she doesn't have a job that she gets paid for, but she does do things like that. If you can do someone's laundry. I'm in a Facebook group that people are constantly talking about how much they pay someone else to do their laundry. I don't understand, but I guess if I was working a 50-hour a week job and that was something I could outsource, that would be easy. I've seen people who pay to have meals made, like HelloFresh, except Hello Next Door. So I think there are a lot of opportunities. And Christina is correct. You do need to make sure that whatever you do homeschooling wise is legal.
Yes.
I think as Christians and homeschoolers, it is important that we respect and follow the laws. It is illegal in Florida, but I do know work with other people's children as a tutor. I am not responsible for their grades. I am not responsible for picking their curriculum. I'm just helping them. So I think that's a way that a lot of people do that. The parent is still in charge of the education. So
Kentucky was not illegal. I mean, I never had anybody else's kids, but I got asked a lot. It's a great way. Tech trip. Okay, great help. Oh. Okay. It's illegal in Wisconsin as well. So yeah, there's a lot of homeschool laws. If you missed, we had Amy Buckmeyer from HSLDA yesterday, and she came and talked. But HSLDA would be a great source to look up any laws.
Yep.
We have about 5 more minutes before we need to sign off. So any other questions that you guys might have?
We've solved the world's problems, Jonna. Our job here.
We finally did it. Lisa and I say we could do it if they just let us try.
There you go. If they would just ask before they make the crazy things, we could give you the info up front.
So I had a teacher in high school retire. Yep. There are several high school teachers that are retiring right now to homeschool their children.
And that
pray about it. Yeah.
If it's not a go from the Lord, it's just not a go. That is true. Absolutely.
Because money is not everything.
No. I can drive my car one more year or go without. That is a consideration.
Of course, it might be nice to have a girl around the house all day with the boys.
But anything that you have to give up, in order to homeschool is way worth it, and the Lord will pay you back tenfold.
Absolutely.
He is faithful, and that's the thing we need to remember for sure.
So the lesson here is that there is not a stereotype of homeschool moms. You are a homeschool mom, whether you work, you don't work, you do school on Saturday all day because you take Wednesday off because you just want to hit the pool on a Wednesday where nobody's around.
Yes. And someone said, don't underestimate how much you can earn by being frugal. And that is true. What you are doing in your home is worth a lot of money. Your time is very valuable, and your investment in your children is very valuable. Your investment in your husband is very valuable. We always see those things there where they line up all the jobs, the people they need to replace the mom. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So definitely, like I said, you have a full-time job. You just don't get paid in dollars.
Yeah.
Get paid in hugs and kisses, which is way better.
So love on your husbands. Let them take care of you. Be submissive when you can all the time.
All right.
I'm just making sure there's.
Yeah, I was looking at making sure there's no more questions, but this was fun. Thanks for putting up with my just exercise, and then I was working all morning because I wasn't supposed to be on this side. But how fun to get to just chat. What fun.
You guys have been great. I look forward to seeing you hopefully in just a regular chat from now on. I promise you we will get the other recorded video in addition to this one when we get the chance. And it'll be great. You guys have a great day from around the world. I think we saw South Africa earlier. So thank you, ladies. You're awesome.